perfectly.
Bun's crooked.
Perfectly in sync, perfectly in tune. It was wonderful. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 334.
Oof.
Yeah.
We're
spicy.
up there.
Tonight's going to be a really fun episode. Some of the episodes that we've been loving to do over the last year have been our Ask Coach Roche episodes, where we bring on our wonderful friend, David Roche, who is a coach for runners of all abilities, all levels, front of the pack, back of the pack, all different distances, just a wonderful human being in general. Tonight, we might get both Roches on the show. I'm just going to put that out there that tonight we have two guests.
Maybe all three Roches on the show.
There might even be a third guest joining us on tonight's show. But it's going to be a fantastic episode. It's Ask Coach Roche number 7. Actually, Ask Coach Roches, because we have both of them, number 7. So if you have questions in relating to any of your training, preparation, racing, end of the year goals, New Year's goals, since things are just around the corner, we can't believe it. Tonight's a great opportunity to ask all of those burning questions. And it's just going to be a good catch-up episode because it's been a while since we've had both of them on.
Yes.
So we're very excited. So welcome, everyone, to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 334. The show begins now.
Ginger Runner.
Yay! Welcome, everyone, to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 334. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Mondays to spend a little bit of it with us.
The chat room's already Addy Dog.
Is it? Yeah. I had a feeling. Tonight, we have a wonderful guest. Guests.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. These always turn out to be some of our favorite episodes where we sit down with David Roche, and tonight we actually get to sit down with both David and Megan Roche. We're going to pick their brains a little bit on different topics in regards to training and preparation for big goals and stuff like that here towards the end of the year. And it's also a great opportunity for you to get your questions answered by two of the best coaches in the game. We are just so excited to have them on the show. And one thing I always like to highlight at the beginning of a show with any of the Roches is that we always end up leaving the episode feeling inspired, feeling like we can take on anything, just feeling a sense of awesomeness and strength. And it's another reason why we love to do these episodes. So we hope that you enjoy tonight's episode because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not just myself and it's not just our wonderful guests tonight. We also have the incredible and amazing Kimberly. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. What's up, everyone? Kim Tashima Newberry here. If you're new to the show, welcome. Hello. We will be bringing our wonderful guests on live in just a second. Because we are live, you can ask them questions.
Yeah.
There's already questions rolling in, so keep them coming. I'll be pulling questions throughout the hour. If you don't see your question being asked, you can just pop it in the chat room again.
Yeah, I see that you've already pulled a bunch aside. So that's great. Bring the questions on in real time. We'll try to ask as many as we can in tonight's episode. Now, before we introduce our guests tonight, it's actually another special evening because we've partnered up with Inside Tracker. So Kim and I have, in the last couple of years, been neglecting our health and awareness of our own wellness, internal wellness in regards to blood.
I mean, just tell it like it is. Yes, that's true.
Here's how it really is.
We tend to put ourselves last when it comes to actually taking care of ourselves.
We have not had our blood work done. We have not looked at anything for years. That is, it's all sorts of reasons behind it. A lot of it is fear, financial, all those types of things. But we're really excited to partner up with Inside Tracker. If you're unfamiliar with the company, they do a wonderful job of looking at your blood and looking at different biomarkers and different ways to sort of look at your blood and how it can help you as an athlete and how maybe you can adjust your diet or how you train, all these different things that they will look at with your blood and give you great insight into what you're doing right, what you can do better. So we're really excited. We had Jonathan Levitt, who also worked for that company, on Ginger Runner Live long ago when he ran his first 50K during the wildfires in the Bay Area. And since then, he and I and Kim, we've all kind of been in touch and just trying to figure out, like, how can we work together. Today starts 4 weeks of working with Inside Tracker, and we're really excited about it. We got our first blood test in years done this morning. We don't know the results.
We both survived.
We both survived. But over the next 4 weeks, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the look at our blood and sort of what the process is like. So far, it's been very easy with Inside Tracker. They provided the insight on how to get the blood tested, where you go, all that good stuff. They make it very, very easy. And I just want to point out here at the end of this plug with Inside Tracker is that they are offering $200 off their ultimate plan to you, the Ginger Runner Live audience, which is really, really amazing. There's a link in the description. Just click over and it will take you over to Inside Tracker and use the coupon code GIFT from Ginger Runner. It's all one word. You'll get $200 off their ultimate plan, which is what we did.
Yes.
Very excited about it. In addition, we'd like to thank our Patreon crew. Those are the individuals that support everything that we do here, from live shows, reviews, films, all that good stuff. Shout out to our Patreon crew. One individual in particular at that top tier, Brian Sands, is just a long time inspiration to us, a friend of ours who just ran his first 100-miler. We had him on the show after he did that. Just a true gentleman. We appreciate all that you do for us in the community, Brian. Thank you so much. That's it. I say let's introduce our
let's get into it. Yeah.
Very special guest tonight. Without further ado, coming to us all the way from I'm going to just say Colorado. It could be a beautiful pasture or a meadow.
It could be in our backyard.
Could be in our backyard. We don't know. David and Megan Roche.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having us.
We are so pumped for this. I usually have class on Mondays nights, so this is like a great treat to be with you all. And I don't know, we're having a flannel party, so this is great.
Yeah. I was going to say, this episode is brought to you by Inside Tracker. It's also brought to you by Plaid. If you really like squares and you want some more squares in your life, consider Plaid. So
not just squares, overlapping squares with a couple of rectangles. I mean, it's the correct collaboration between squares, really, that ultimately brings Plaid together. We are so honored to have both of you on the show because we try our best to get both Roches on. David is often available from time to time. Megan, we know that you're very busy, so to have both of you sit down tonight is like, we're very excited.
David is often available. Also,
is that how that came across?
Yeah, you definitely said David is often available.
I didn't mean it like David has nothing going on in his life.
David literally responds in 30 seconds and says, "Yeah."
That's actually I think that's what I responded to you when you said that you were available was yes, with 37 A's. So first, let's start here. How are you guys doing? Because we haven't really got to check in with you in a bit. How are you both doing? How are you both faring with everything right now?
That's a good question. I would say we're doing pretty well, all things considered. I think 2020 is a little bit of a crap storm altogether, but I think we're weathering it pretty well.
Yeah, I think things are going great. I feel like we've had a lot of chances. We've been laughing a lot recently. I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
I don't think it's because our jokes are getting any funnier, to be honest with you. I think we're just like, our tolerance for laughter has just increased.
Things are going great here. Coaching's going great. And I think there's a lot of hope in the air in general. So hopefully we can ride that wave.
I have been curious to ask you both this, but have you been able to set up individual offices in the house? Like, do you have your corner, David and Megan? Do you have your corner, or are you able to collaborate in the same room? And like Kim and I are able to work together, but are you guys in that same sort of vein?
Have a fight for one part in the couch where like it dips down in a perfect butt hugging fashion.
It is a beautiful part of the couch.
Yeah. So whoever gets their butt in that spot first gets that part, and then the other person just figures out another place in the room for it. So yeah, we work in the same spot or the same general area.
Also, side note related to that couch, we got our house cleaned for the first time since COVID hit, and they found 6 spoons in our couch, which I feel like just like a perfect, like that just like encapsulates all of what this COVID experience has been for us. And our house is usually a disaster, so our working place just has like jackets and spoons and like random stuff everywhere. So it like very much represents our like chaotic framework.
The things we care about, we're extremely on top of. And the things that we don't, like spoons in the couch, we are extremely not, to the point that like, it's a little bit worrisome. Like, I don't know. I feel like if a psychologist heard that, they'd be like, you have some sort of issue, but we're just...
I'm wondering if that's where our spoons went.
I was just going to bring that up. A part of me was
our
like,
spoons have been disappearing slowly over the last couple of years. And before COVID hit, we could actually have friends over. We were blaming people for taking our spoons as a joke.
We had a plan. Like we had a whole, oh, I know who it is. And I bet they're doing it because this person dared them. And then this person's keeping them. Like we had the whole thing planned out in our brains. We thought we were brilliant.
Maybe they're in our couch.
Maybe they're in our couch cushions.
That's the best place to eat ice cream. And where's the best place to put the spoon when you're done with the ice cream? Wherever you are sitting. Get it away from
Yeah, by the law of cleanliness, it gets clean.
Yeah, it's true.
It gets clean magically just by sitting in the couch.
Yeah.
You can reuse it again.
Megan, we found the spoon. Megan immediately grabs one and goes, still good.
Good. I imagine there's a 5-second rule. So you can use something quickly, get it off the ground, you can use it quickly. But then there's probably like a 50-day rule where after a certain point, it's good again. Like
that's what they taught Megan at Stanford Medical School, actually.
You brought up like losing spoons in a couch, and what does that mean? And I feel like a therapist would go, what type of silverware was it that was lost in the couch? Knives. We need to separate the conversation. We need to talk individually. Spoons. Oh no, that's great. That's a great sign of a relationship.
The great story related to this spoon is that for our, what do you call it when you get a wedding? You have like the registry for the wedding. I didn't know, but I labeled like utensils on a registry, but I only labeled one spoon, one knife, and one fork, and I thought it was a whole set. So one really nice spoon, one really nice fork, and one really nice knife, and that one spoon was in the couch.
I think the overall message of tonight's episode so far is please send spoons.
Yeah,
Or maybe the Oracle in the Matrix, if you remember, there is no spoon. That's maybe the whole message here, is that spoons are more of a metaphor for the transient nature of existence itself. And in those 7 spoons, we have uncertainty. And finding those spoons again, the spoons came back to us once we gave them up. So in conclusion, hope.
I like that.
Yeah, we really appreciate everyone joining us
show.
tonight. Yeah, that's it for episode 334. Of course it isn't. We're just diving into the good stuff here. Wait until we get to dessert or hell, breakfast. Who knows? I think kind of where I wanted to start is just in regards to we're gearing up towards the end of the year here. I imagine there's a lot of people who are looking back on their 2020 and with different eyes. There's probably a lot of forgiveness and grace because the year has just been chaotic for so many people. In so many different ways. You might have people looking back and going, I'm so proud of what I was able to do amongst these circumstances and looking forward over the next month and a half and sort of figuring out like, how can I wrap up this year? What is maybe the trend that you're seeing with your clients, or what are you telling your clients as far as how they can look back and how they can look forward?
Yeah, I think that's a great, so when I think about time, it's really interesting, like thinking about training schedules. I always emphasize to athletes that like, we're not talking about training weeks. Like, you don't think about like we're talking more than just training weeks or more than just training days. And I would emphasize too, that it's like, it's not just about looking back across the entire year, because this time thing is just like a construct. It's thinking about like the general trend of time. But I think like for a lot of athletes, what I've seen in 2020, but also beyond that too, like extending beyond this definition of like the 2020 time, is just like resilience. Yeah. Like I've seen athletes just like step up to like so many different uncertain things, like whether that's like a job loss or like races being canceled or like any number of variables that 2020 has like pushed them through, and just coming out with resilience for whatever that may be. And then like thinking about applying that to like all the uncertainties that are going to happen that hopefully aren't quite as bad as 2020.
Yeah, I totally agree that 2020 has been a group test of persistent uncertainty, right? Like every single person, no matter what the situation is, has had to deal with that. And it's gone in waves. Like, it's like you're starting to get some hope. And even now, COVID numbers are spiking just as vaccines are announced. And there's this weird mix of uncertainty and hope, and then like doom and all this other stuff into one thing. And if there's nothing else, we were learning that we can all conquer that crap. And I think that's the coolest thing of all, is that like, no matter where you're at right now, even if you're just getting by and just trying to get day to day, it's like we have seen that uncertainty, faced it head on, and gotten through it. So with the end of the year, I would just emphasize to like lean into that feeling a little bit more. Like, this is even more time to practice that before the vaccines come and before life really does get back to normal, hopefully later in 2021. Like, this is a time to be like, okay, I'm facing this uncertainty. What's a light in that darkness for me? So maybe it's doing some big end of the year adventure, or maybe it's just like, okay, I just want to try to get back to doing like 3 runs a week if you're out running, or whatever it is. So just something that like you can celebrate that, like conquering that uncertainty a little bit.
I think I remember early on, David, a conversation that maybe you and I had either in my log or via text or phone or in person, was just in regards to the goals this year. You know, as races were canceled and lots of circumstances were presenting themselves to lots of people that took a lot of opportunity away, or a goals and stuff like that away. You kind of convinced me, like, your goal shouldn't be, you know, these huge efforts or some big thing. Like, just make it consistency. Like, consistency is a really great starting place to create additional goals out of. And, you know, it's really easy for me to look back and go, man, I wanted to run a 100-miler this year. I wanted to do all these different big routes and lines and stuff, and I wasn't able to do it, and all these things. It's easy to look back and be disappointed. But if I look back and look at it from the lens of consistency, it's really it makes me happy, because I feel like even if I wasn't able to run, maybe I hopped on a bike, or maybe I did yoga, or did something consistent, and it allowed my goal to be, rather than so big and so wide, it was like, let's focus on the essentials, you know, strength and base
every
building.
Day, no matter what would have happened this year, even if COVID never happened, every day is a new day. Like, every time you wake up, it's a chance to live, to whatever live means for you. Like, it can mean training, it can mean other things. And like, you know, I think the best way to use the rest of 2020 is to be like, okay, all that stuff that happened earlier this year, maybe it's worthy of like immense celebration. Maybe it's just worthy of smaller celebrations. If I got to it. Whatever it is, it's like, let's just embrace this new day and find that thing that lights our soul up. And this is the chance to do that.
I think too, so I've seen some athletes who have struggled with consistency during this time, just because it really is like, there's just so many different life situations. And for those athletes too, I've seen a lot of them grapple with like a deeper understanding of why they're doing what they're doing, because they were able to take that step back and like look back in and be like, oh my gosh, this is the reason why I love running, or this is the reason why I love racing, or this is what consistency means to me. And that like step back from consistency has actually been really helpful too for some people.
Yeah, sometimes the slingshot needs to be pulled back to get launched. Or, you know, so in other words, athletes are all in different places. And the place that I really am emphasizing with people is like, do not judge yourself for whatever happened the last 6 or 8, 7 months, you know? And from there, from that place of like total non-judgment, from like acceptance of self, you're like, okay, everything starts again tomorrow. And now the world, we have a timeline a little bit. We kind of understand what's going to be happening with the world opening up. Now, there is hope. There is concrete hope. There's all this stuff that is coming. And now we can start whatever the new patterns are, whether it's consistency with running, identifying some race you want to do, or just deciding you're going to wake up tomorrow and be a really good person to your partner, or whatever it is that we might have always fallen by the wayside because 2020 has been a shitstorm, as Megan said, or crap storm or whatever.
Shitstorm's
we can
allowed.
say shitstorm here.
Yeah. I love the looking back without judgment. And I know that's for a lot of people that can be easier said than done. So I might want to pick your brain a little bit on how maybe people can look back without judgment. But before we dig a little bit deeper into that, we have tons of great questions here. I'll let Kim take it away.
Yeah, a question from Kaylee in the chat room. Kaylee says, Roaches, what would maintenance training look like if we weren't training for a race but wanted to still keep improving and stay in shape?
Great. So when you're thinking about long-term growth, which is what I really want maintenance to be focused on, is even though you're not training for a race, you're still training to improve. I like to think about positive feedback cycles that you're trying to get going that don't require you to do major stresses that are risky, like you might do before a race, or even specific. So that really relies on 2 different buckets, let's say. The first is aerobic development, something that can occur over long time frames, like 3 to 10 years even. The other bucket is related to the specifics of being able to put out a lot of power. So into that bucket, we're going to put neuromuscular efficiency, biomechanical efficiency, musculoskeletal strength. So you have that going. So the first step is aerobic development. Like, this is something that can be the background beat on all you do. That means easy miles. It can mean cross training. It can mean walking and hiking and things like that, being active, and try to do that at least 5 times a week. Like, being active doesn't mean you have to run, but you know, we like our athletes to be active 6 days a week. Addie likes to be active too. Addie, come over here. And then in the other bucket with the musculoskeletal, neuromuscular, biomechanical, that all requires efficient output. So Addie, come.
This is the time we usually get DoorDash, so her site like, there's a DoorDash, man.
I need my pizza. And then the other, let's say, is high output. So from there, we really like to focus on things like hill strides, workouts focused on short intervals, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of work split up by recovery, just once or twice a week. And so once you get that going, the aerobic and then that higher output for short durations that isn't too taxing, you can get these. You get a little bit better aerobically, which makes the intervals a little bit better. Those better intervals make the aerobic running a little more efficient, and you start getting the snowball rolling downhill. And that's how years later you look back and it's like, how did this athlete get created?
And I think really quickly too, during maintenance training is a great time to reinforce that, like, the strong foundation. So being as strong as possible, working on your biomechanics. So like working with someone who can look at your gait if like injury has been an issue. Great time to focus on that when your volume is a little bit less.
Yeah. So like keep it like with that, we have, if you've never seen them, the mountain legs routine for your legs, which is a 3-minute routine you can do 3 or 4 times a week. And then for your upper body, just doing basic things. And layering that in.
David does 6 naked chin-ups every night as his upper body work.
I do 10 naked chin-ups. Don't sell me short.
Wait, so is it 6 or 10?
Yeah, the number makes a difference. Yeah. How many spoons and where are they?
It's not about whether you do 6 or 10, I hear from with no. That didn't make sense. It was trying to make a joke that was not appropriate.
Shitstorm. Let's get to another one.
Yeah, a question from Slow Man Running. Slow Man Running says, I have to run 10 kilometers a day till the end of the year to get 20 kilometers. Should I run 10 kilometers a day? Should I do more running more in one day and then so I can have a rest day, or run every day? Should I do double days? Any recommendations?
This is a fun question. Yeah, I want to plug this into an equation and spit out some sort of like really efficient answer for you.
So every athlete that we coach takes a full rest day a week. Even people that might do 120 or 140 miles a week at their peak, like Hayden Hawks. What we've seen is that it's an essential aspect of long-term growth. And it probably gets back to the inside tracker type biomarkers that Ethan and Kim were talking about, in that when you do these big stresses, even things like running every day, there are tails on all the so you get a stress and then the stress has a tail. That tail impacts things like your biomarkers, your cortisol, your vitamin D, your hemoglobin. And if you start stacking up those tails without a break, it can really lead to, overtraining, even when you're not necessarily pushing that hard. So we're big fans of a rest day a week, which means like, as you're thinking about this 10K a day, I would say spread it out, like have 3 days a week be one volume, 2 days a week be a little bit longer, and 1 day a week be the longer run of the week. And if you spread it out that way, I think you can get the polarization benefits of adaptation too, where your body will adapt a little bit more to maybe the slightly longer runs than it would to the shorter runs.
I think mentally that's nice too. Like, it's nice not to have to wake up every day and think about like the same routine. It's really nice to have that structure and that variation. And one morning be like, today is my rest day. I'm going to have extra coffee, extra breakfast burrito, and like really embrace that rest day.
I love that. I think this is a common question I think a lot of people have, because as we start looking towards the end of the year, we start counting down how many days we have left, and
people are looking at their overall mileage goals for the year.
I was doing it a week ago, going, where am I at with my total mileage?
I haven't even looked at mine this year.
Yeah, I know. So there might be the same sort of thing that I ask myself is like, do I have to do 22 miles per day for the next 30 days? If so, might as well.
Listen, I'll take your extra coffee and extra breakfast burritos. If you want to.
How is that a part of it?
Well, Megan just said. Okay. For the rest days.
All right. Okay. I want to go back to then sort of talking about judgment. And it's kind of what I'm thinking is it's really easy to say, like, don't judge yourself. Don't look back and judge what happened in the last year. It's a thing that's easier said than done. I'm guilty of multiple times looking back and going, I didn't do all that I could have done. But also simultaneously going, but you did what you could, and that's important. So is there tools or anything that people can use to maybe allow a little bit more grace?
And also just to quickly add on to that, I think what goes hand in hand with that is also looking back and maybe comparing yourself to someone and feeling like, well, maybe I didn't handle 2020 as well as whoever who seems to be nailing all their goals and doing all these things. What's wrong with me?
Brilliant.
Before Megan jumps in, Megan's going to answer. I think that whoever that person is probably did not handle it that well either. It just looks well on Instagram.
Always look good on Instagram.
Yeah, just seeing what we've seen, I think it's a success.
So I struggle with this a ton. Like, I am my hardest self-critic. Like, I think like I judge myself so hard, and I'm really like empathize with this. But what I've like trying to be working on is like trying to tell myself the advice I would give to a best friend related to what I am going through. So like talking to myself exactly as I would talk to a best friend. And I would never tell a best friend some of the stuff that I tell myself about like thinking about like what I've done in the past or like just being judgmental. And that to me has been like a really helpful framework to filter everything through.
Yeah. And all of these mental health journeys are kind of predicated on the same type of idea, which is we're all going to have those switches flipping on and off, right? Like Megan might be wired a little bit more to have those judgment things going more. Like she probably even was as a child based on what I've heard, and me to a lesser extent, but I still feel it. The issue is like not letting those thoughts define you and become who you are. And we all face this all the time, like an attachment to our thoughts as truth or whatever. But part of like growing up and really getting to know these things is that a lot of our thoughts are fleeting and it doesn't define us. We are the awareness behind the thoughts. So as it relates to like dealing with it in particular, it's you're going to have them. One, try not to pursue them. But if you do, just bring it back and say something. Like don't like talk about it. Like what therapy is a lot of the time is putting those thoughts out there so that they can then be aired out to dry. But the same thing can happen with your partner or yourself even, to be like, okay, I just thought this. That's an okay thought to have. And the whole like, conceit of mindfulness or spirituality, or even, going to a priest or whatever and confessing, is to say, okay, these are these thoughts I've had, and it's okay. And that's the idea, is it's okay. Like we're not going to avoid this, but by putting it out there, you can kind of get back to this place of, yeah, I am freaking awesome. I am that awareness behind these thoughts, and these thoughts are always going to come. And that's not a problem. In fact, like these thoughts, if anything, are what make me so special and cool.
And I think last point on that, getting back to Kim's point, is that I think almost everyone has these thoughts. And for me, it gives me a lot more compassion for what other people are going through, knowing that someone else is just as judgmental as I am. And I think for me, it like stops that comparison game, because it makes me think about what they're going through and like all the different battles that they're having going on. And for me, it just like stops that comparison, even though like that's a natural tendency.
I love that discussion. I appreciate that. And as someone who is constantly looking back and judging myself, and I think we've had this conversation just together of like looking back on 2020 and what wasted opportunity of like getting out and more time on the trails or that sort of thing. But then also realizing we did what we could. We're all doing what we can, and that is enough. And I think this is also great stuff to sort of apply as we move forward going into December, end of 2020 and into 2021. Because it's not like this year is its own self-contained thing. Time is ever evolving, and 2021 is just a number change. It's a digit
January
change.
1st, 2021 is not going to be like, we're living
Everything's
our best
better.
lives now.
New
Like
year,
everything's gone.
races are on. Like it's not going to be that. It's going to be the same thing that we're sort of in, and preparing our brains to sort of reflect that way. This is great. I appreciate you guys being helpful with that and sort of addressing that topic.
Just one last thing on it is like, you're not coming back. You're going to have these thoughts more and more, though. Try not to come back to a baseline of like, I am actually neutral or whatever. Come back to a baseline of I am freaking awesome just for being, because that's like, when we say this, that is the whole idea here. It's like, we are going through this really complex thing called existence, and just getting by, getting through, doing what you can, failing, fucking up, all this other stuff is what is so awesome about you. And like, the ability to kind of see that can be hard, and that's why it's so good to talk to others. But over time, like giving yourself the grace to be like, no, I am fucking awesome, can go a really long way. We
had this similar conversation, or at least a direction, when we had you last on, David. It ended up changing one of our communication tools. So we have a platform called Discord that we use with our Patreon subscribers, and we added a channel on our Discord server that is Celebrate Yourself. Where people every day can chime in with anything that they want to celebrate. It can be, I made myself food today. It could be as simple as that, or it could be, I'm going to do a self-supported 100-mile. Self-supported 100-miler in the Iowa backcountry. Like there are these different versions of what celebration are for various people and wherever they are in their journey. And it's been a beautiful thing to see people celebrating things big and small, rather than having that baseline be sort of a flat, like, I am here, I am present. And it's more like, you know what? I am pretty awesome. And even if it was just making a meal tonight for my family, that's fucking awesome. And celebrating themselves and celebrating that. And it's been great. So we appreciate that.
To emphasize the point of last time, every run is a chance to do that. Every single one.
Every clean spoon is a chance to do that.
And that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Episode 334.
I haven't seen this clean spoon in years, so I wouldn't know. But,
it's on the celebratory list tomorrow. Yeah. I'm going to actually clean one.
But like we can tell, like when we're coaching athletes, we can tell very quickly based on how they self-evaluate after workouts, how much they're going to progress from where they are. The ones that do progress over years and years and years from whatever that starting point is, almost always are like, yeah, that was great. Or I'm great, or to some extent have that like openness to themselves. And so like running is such a great place to practice it. And so I encourage everyone, like after every run, but like, especially if you ever do like a hill interval or anything like that, every single one is a chance to be like, yeah, I'm good. And just like kind of embrace that feeling. One, it's super empowering and it'll make you a better athlete. Two, like, it's just way more fun.
I love, now I have this mental picture of every time, we're collecting spoons. The spoons are the good things, and they might be hidden from us. They might be in the couch cushions. But if we just recognize that spoon got there on its own or from eating ice cream, which is a good moment. So if you find that spoon, that's another good moment. You're basically celebrating a spoon. So let's collect our spoons, everybody. Let's collect your spoons.
That's a new shirt, new swag. Collect your spoons.
It's like short spoons. You never know when the spoons are just going to pop up.
I apologize to all of our live viewers. I'm sorry for that metaphor. That my brain was like, yes, make a spoon connection. This will all come together. And as it came out of my mouth, I was like,
I just hope somebody was joining us like just as you were saying that.
What is this spoon show? I'm really into it. I'm totally into spoons. Let's maybe get to another live question.
Ingen in the chat room mentions New Year's goal, survive pandemic winter. Do you guys have any tips or advice to get us all through this pandemic winter? Maybe especially for people living in regions that actually get super cold winters or dreary winters like what we're having. How can we encourage ourselves to stay active and try and up the positive mental attitude?
My first thing is like, be aware and mindful of the media you're consuming and try to use this time. Like one great thing about this time is there is this chance to like, learn, grow. I mean, for Megan and I, our favorite times every day, like we're eating dinner earlier, as she said, and then going down to the couch and getting to watch shows that we never would have watched had our lives been more busy and hectic and things like that. Like we just watched Queen's Gambit and now we're watching Russian Doll and we watched Ted Lasso. And like, then we try to laugh as much as we can while we're watching. And, we're reading a lot. And so in other words, to like, try to view it as, okay, what are the opportunities here? Yeah, there are some things lost that are going to be different, but then that opens up so many doors too. For us, we love TV and shows and all this other stuff, but it can be anything. It can just be being more mindful and present with your family or finding out how many times in a day you can laugh. Like, I love that competition, like laugh at nothing. And random things like that you might never have time to focus on otherwise.
And I think for me, like clocking in and clocking out of work has been really key during this time for like establishing a routine, because like I'm the type of person, I'll answer emails at like 5 a.m. or 9 p.m. and really having that like set work structure, because I'm working from home now for the first time ever, has been something that I really needed for like self-preservation, so that work doesn't become like the whole entire day. And same goes for running, because like I feel like you can be on the clock for running or doing strength training or whatever it is, like get everything done in set chunks and have that, but then also just like inject tons of play into that routine too. So like, randomly take like a 5-minute dance session during the middle of the workday and like inject tons of like play and joy as much as you can into that, like clocking in and out. And then last tip I would say is just like be as safe as possible too, like wear a mask when possible, like, just do your, like, I don't know, I'm a big believer in just like keeping people safe and healthy right now. And like doing your part to do that is pretty awesome too. And one more, productivity is fucking overrated. So don't worry about being productive. No one is productive right now. Well, and also as productive. Yeah. It's all an illusion. Like it's all a story we're telling ourselves. We can control that story a little bit. So like try to like remember that these things we call productivity are really just ways that we're occupying our time. And there's other ways we can occupy our time too. Starting with, since this is, like about running, like commit this winter to being consistent. If you can run. If you can't run, cross train. If you can't cross train, walk. If you can't do that, do some of our strength work. Like
that committing to your body in this time is really important, because we can't always control our brains. We can't always control how much we can move, but we can at least give ourselves a chance.
God, I love that. And just the premise of having work hours or a set time when you can check in, check out is something I am without a doubt guilty of glossing over for more than a decade, of like not setting my work boundaries. And there'll be times when I kind of go into the habit of like, yeah, I'm not working until 9 a.m. And then I'm once 5 p.m. hits, shut the edit down, step away. I'll go in waves of that. And I know it's really difficult as a freelancer who's worked from home for most of my adult life. It is really difficult to like turn it off. But it has been, when you said that, it's like, yes, that is one of those clear things that's super, super helpful in allowing you to feel the break from investing in productivity and like being a part of a corporate structure, and then stepping back and realizing this is my time, this is family time, or this is run time, or that sort of thing.
Dog time.
As simple as that. Ice cream time. By delineating those boundaries, it's helped a lot. And I'll go in waves. I'm guilty of going back and forth. But
so one thing I wanted to add, though, is also this winter, like for anyone listening, invest in your mental health. That can look a lot different. Like if you don't have any issues with that, that's fine. But if you're carrying around a weight all the time and you've tried therapy or anything, like first try therapy, but like antidepressant medications and things like that, like you should not have to feel like you are carrying around a weight vest all the time. That is not a burden you have to bear. And to be open to that sort of thought process too. I wrote an article on this on the science of it, but for anecdotally, we coach a ton of pro athletes and a ton of CEOs and all these types of people that do take a pill every day to be themselves. And like, there is no shame in that. In fact, I think there's a lot of pride in that. So if you feel yourself in that, know that there are options outside of like, having to deal with this through mindfulness exercises or whatever else might be impossible if you feel that weight.
Yeah, we started meditating. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys do it in the morning, or this is a big bomb to drop suddenly? Meditation with the roaches. Are you guys morning meditators, evening meditators, midday?
We try to do afternoon and evening, but often it turns into only evening. It'll probably be more afternoon after Megan's life calms down a little after a PhD.
Sometimes, though, David gives the gift of leading meditation sessions, so he does the meditation for us. He's pretty good at it.
Yeah, I am very good at like stifling my own laughs at myself. Sometimes I'll say something and I'll be like, no, I can't pull that one off.
We meditated the verse to Matthew McConaughey, and it was like so hard not to laugh throughout all of it. Yeah, it's a good buffer for laughter. Yeah.
Things are all right.
All right. Yeah.
Are you guys partner meditators? Like, do you guys enjoy doing it in the same room, or do you have to do it separately? Is Addie allowed in?
So we actually hold hands while we meditate. And that sounds like, it's actually like, it sounds super creepy, but it works really well.
Whatever, man.
We're holding hands right now.
We hold our
hands
the whole show.
It's really clammy in there.
Well, every once in a while you get frustrated. I feel like every once in a while you're like, fuck this hand. And you like do it away. But like, for the most part, we're holding hands as we meditate.
That is true.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about my hand in that moment, but like sometimes you're really not into it.
This is going so well, and I'm over this. We've been doing yoga.
We should start holding hands while we do yoga.
That's our yoga hasn't been great, and it's because we haven't been holding hands. Nothing says Warrior One like hold my hand. Maybe let's get to one more viewer question, and then we'll wrap up.
This was one of the first questions that was asked in the chat tonight from John Ives. They ask, if I get more joint pains than muscle pain after long runs, what kind of non-running training should I do? So more joint pains than muscle pains.
So that's super interesting. I think sometimes we have difficulty discerning exactly where discomfort is coming from, particularly when you're talking about joint muscle and things like that. I would say that the few things we have seen to expedite recovery processes that this could be related to, one, to make sure that you're eating enough protein. That is a really big step that a lot of endurance athletes in particular can undercut. talk to a nutritionist. Our general guideline is try to get 100 plus grams a day. We've seen massive changes in recovery rates based on that, both with joint and things. Megan actually wrote for a medical journal on osteoarthritis. So if joint pain is related to osteoarthritis, she can get into that a little bit, or do you want me to?
Yeah, what I was going to say is unilateral joint pain. I would often think about biomechanics or think about like the structure in which you're running or training, or like if you're having any weird stresses. I would also say too, I'm seeing a lot of very weird joint, low back, hip pain from people sitting during the day on Zoom calls. It seems like the ergonomics of the workday are changing, and that's actually impacting running. The other thing is cold weather. So cold weather may impact joints. But I think if it's like a bilateral joint issue, and oftentimes like if it's upper body and you're a runner, like that may be a time when you want to check in with your doctor as well, because like, you know, it's joint pain sometimes can be like a warning sign for other things. And it might just be like a worthwhile conversation to have.
Yeah. And, you know, Megan's paper specifically looked at things like glucosamine chondroitin, which doesn't have the best science, but is an option that is low risk for the most part. Don't correct me. I'm trying to sound smart. You know, also paying attention to things like footwear and form. You know, there's a lot of different footwear works for everyone, but if what you are doing is not working, it may be worth a try to change it up a little bit, and focusing on, you know, quicker strides. Like you know, if your cadence drops to like 150 or something, that's likely overloading each step a little bit and it's slightly less efficient. It varies for everyone, but we generally like a little bit quicker cadence. Don't worry about getting to 180 or anything like that. I've never been that high for easy running, but try to quicker, softer strides are better, and the footwear that supports that.
That's good advice. I feel like, especially with like the cold weather stuff, and then even just the recommendation with protein, that's something we were just talking about as well. Yeah. We'll wrap up the main show here with the Roaches, because I know that we still have a number of live questions that we did not get to. We'll ask those in the after show. But I do just want to quickly mention that both David and Megan are so gracious with their time when they join us on this show. We are just so thankful to have people like them, so freeing with the information and the guidance. They are fantastic humans for providing a lot of this insight for so many of our shows. And they also are coaches, as we've obviously mentioned, but they have openings for clients. If people are looking to hire them on as coaches, they also have a team of coaches that they use or can provide insight. They're always quite available. They have a book out. There's just so much good stuff around the Roaches that we're very thankful to have them on the show. David and Megan, would you mind giving yourselves a little plug as far as where people can find you on social media, where they can reach out, websites, anything like that?
We have a podcast now.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's really like a dinner conversation with us. Yeah, it's just like some back and forth banter on random topics.
Yeah. I think tomorrow we're digging into like some deep training topics and then getting into hilarious relationship stories to make people feel better about their own relationships. So some Work All Play podcast. And then otherwise, you know, always contact us with questions, even if they're specific. You know, we will always answer for free as friends. You know, we want to try to be there for everyone. So we are in the universe.
And perhaps most importantly, Addie Dog has an Instagram, and she's actually Addie Dog. She's back here somewhere. She needs to make a quick appearance.
I just started clapping like she was going to come to my clap.
You're like, come
here.
Waiting for DoorDash. Addie, come. She's like, where's my pizza?
Yeah, she always gets her own little dog serving of whatever we're eating. So yeah, she gets very hopeful around.
I was going to say she has a sophisticated palate, but it's mostly pizza.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get a chance to get a little view of her in the after show. Our guests tonight, David and Megan Roche, are two fantastic humans. They are coaches, authors, podcast hosts themselves, and just very insightful, awesome human beings. And David wants to say something else.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to end it with like one thought that we talked about before is everyone, there is so much hope right now. Like we're talking a lot about, we're going towards winter, we're going towards these things, but the world is going to start opening up. And not just that, like all of the things we learned in this time will lift us up so much in the future. I know that's so hard to see right now, but you know, as coaches, we get to see a zoomed out perspective on people's lives. And every time there is this type of constriction, usually it's not like shared by everyone, but it's just someone's personal experience. There is so much growth afterwards. There's this explosion of like human development, and that's the time we're in right now. Like, so if you're feeling like a little like constricted, know that is the seed that will lead to this beautiful flowering. And like, that is 2021. That is the rest of this year. And so like, wherever you are right now, there is so much hope in the air and so much beauty coming. So let's try to open up to it as much as we possibly can. because even if it doesn't feel right there right now, this is going to be so freaking awesome.
Damn. Well, I'd co-sign that flowering analogy.
Yeah. As I said that, I was like,
you started with the seed, and I was like, where is this seed going? Oh, man.
Sounds a little bit like a romantic novel from the early 1900s.
I was thinking the Roots. I was like, oh man, where's this going?
Yeah.
If there's anything that I think I've learned with having David on these shows is if you toss the volleyball up, he's inevitably going to get that set. Thank you.
It's called
He'll inevitably spike. It's called a spike. Spike it. We'll get to that point in the show. And I feel like every show that we've had the Roaches on, towards the end, I always leave excited. Like I always leave like, oh man, I can't wait to train this week. Like I can't wait to just kick ass and knock things out of the park. And tonight is no exception. I don't know how they do it. Every single time. Our guests tonight, David and Megan Roche, are, again, two awesome human beings. We're so thankful to have them on the show. We are going to move right into our after show. If you would like to join us for our after show, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to all of our archived after shows, as well as tonight's live after show. At the $3 level and above, we are doing daily live streams. So Kim and I sit down. We do a show every day called Daily Brew. We talk about running, training, gear. Most recently, we talked about the garnish of a hot toddy. And it became probably the best episode of Daily Brew yet.
It was my favorite episode of Daily Brew. Also, a very interesting hill you chose to die on.
I think it's worth a listen and a watch. So consider joining us over there, just patreon.com/thegingerrunner. And again, a final shout out to our sponsor of tonight's episode and for the next 3 episodes, Inside Tracker. Again, link in the description, coupon code in the description for $200 off their ultimate plan. We are in the midst of that, and we can't wait to report back over the next couple of weeks of how that goes, because there's 43 different biomarkers for me, and I'm excited to sort of learn what's up. See if there's anything going on with my blood.
I was just going to say more pizza.
Yeah, more pizza, please. I made a joke today on Twitter that I have a biomarker dedicated to frosting. So I'm curious if they're going to do a deep dive.
Oh, I said maple bars, coffee, and dog hair.
Yeah, that'll do. That's going to wrap up our show tonight, except for our final segment where we like to recognize members of the community who go above and beyond, do something pretty amazing. We call it our GR Crew Member of the Week. Kim, who is this week's GR Crew Member?
This week's GR Crew Member of the Week is Meg Leach. We chose Meg as our GR Crew Member of the Week because Meg published a book last week. So Meg's book is called Secret Santa, the story of the girl who saved Christmas. And not only did Meg write and illustrate this, she also collaborated with another Ginger Runner crew member, Kristen, who helped edit the book as well.
Highly encourage you to go check this book out. Big shout out to Meg. Huge milestone. Like talk about a cool thing to be able to say you did is publish your own book. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that good stuff. Again, the title is Secret Santa, the story of the girl who saved Christmas. Congratulations, Meg, on publishing your very first book. That's it, everyone. We'll see you in the after show. And get out there. Train as hard as you can. Virtually race harder and party the hardest. I know I am. We thank you guys so much for tuning into tonight's episode. We'll see you next Monday for more fun. Bye.
Goodbye.
Ginger Runner.